Everybody, what's up? It's LK, the God of the Fire Squad. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. One, it's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer, just like me. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many, many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Gang. Hey, you know I've been recording this whole time.
Stop it.
This is good content.
This is great content.
Tonight.
All right. Also, we have a special guest back for the second time. She was with us on the coveted episode of Smoke and Fire, where we were talking about a lot of egregious stuff and giving our opinions on parenthood. Whitney.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I was choking on chicken wings.
Oh. Oh man.
That's
the intro.
That's the intro. All right.
Oh.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of FiyaFilmz. I'm your host, LK the God, the Deity, the Mogul. I'm here with my favorite sidekick and two members of the Fire Squad militia, army, and motherfucking wrecking crew. We got B-Mac and Wubsy in the house. The certified technical. What's good, fellas?
What's good?
How you doing, sir?
Yeah.
Pleasure to be here.
Okay, so I want to encourage everybody to leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, subscribe on YouTube, new content every week. Just turn your notifications on and let's go ahead and get started. So, first show on the list, we got to talk about White Lotus, season 1 and 2. I binge watched it. It's a good show. Yeah, tell me how you feel about it, Bubba.
White Lotus was such a strange show to me. It was strange in some of the best ways possible. It was definitely strange in the sense that the way it starts is it really just throws you in with like no real synopsis, no, I guess the term for it is epilogue, or just no primer. It just goes in raw. And I'm not used to shows like that. Usually I'm used to building up connections with certain characters over time and then having that be like a nice, finale as their stories kind of resolve themselves. White Lotus is a strangely good show because it doesn't do that, but it still succeeds at making it very interesting. And it does that with just really proper storytelling of stories that are interesting. I feel like we were pre-potting a little bit and I was talking about this with you, Hook, where there is no particular character in the show that is the character by themselves. They are all characters explicitly woven together, right? Not like Ned Stark. You take Ned Stark out of Game of Thrones, he's still Ned Stark, right? He's still this very honorable guy who you can expect to do certain things. But none of the characters in that show, you could take them out. Maybe I think Tammy, I can't remember her name, but Jennifer Coolidge's character. But most of them, you can't really take them out and they kind of stand on their own. They're all these individuals that make the story entertaining because of their interactions with each other. So that's one thing I can say about White Lotus. I'm still kind of mixed on how I feel about the show, but it's a very meta-modernistic take on today's reality. And you don't really get that many shows either. They talked about a lot of great subject matter that was very complex, and they did it in a way that was elegant and not on the nose like a lot of shows these days. So, good on them on that. Like, it was almost satirical the way they even sort of glossed over and touched on cultural appropriation, especially in the first season, right? And as well as like adult contexts like, prostitution and things like that in the second season. What was your take on it? What's your overall thought?
My take on the White Lotus is I do like how the way they start both of the seasons is with a death.
Yeah.
And we have to find out who is that person that died and how they died. So we take these characters and we go through all these stories and all their backstories and all their trauma, and we go through all their character development. But even in the end, we were like, oh shit, somebody still has to die.
Yeah, it's a
And
very
that's the good thing
passive.
about White Lotus.
Yeah, it's a very passive murder mystery. That's something else that, yeah, I completely agree with you on that, where they never focus so much on it, but because you know it's coming, because you know it's looming, because you know it's there, that also, and they barely talk about it the entire time, right? Like both times, they just don't even focus on it, but you know it's coming. So now you're just like, well, how's it going to lead here? Like they did that very well. I agree with you.
Yeah, I think they both kind of stand on their own both seasons. I was kind of partial to season 1 more because it was more of a, I like the characters better and I like the character development better. But after like seeing how interwoven art is in the season 2 and how much deep stuff they had, you know, you'd be like, okay, I would have to take that back. This is deeper than I thought it was. And you come out being like, oh, these 2 ladies of the night just made off on the whole cast.
Yeah.
Because I sit back and listen to like, okay, so they finessed Michael Imperioli, they finessed the father, they finessed the son, they finessed the dude who cheated on his wife. They finessed him. Finessed the other dude for money because he gave him money too. And then they finessed another dude for money. I was like, yo, they really finessed everybody in the show.
They finessed the don't forget the hotel manager. Finessed her too. Got a whole job. Stole a whole nother nigga job, basically. And honestly, that dude wasn't the best at his job anyway. So that was maybe not a finesse, but she was like, hey man, everybody can get the cooch, bro. Honestly, the season 2, you know, sorry if this isn't politically correct, but you know what the theme I got from season 2 is pussy is power. And how you use your pussy can get you a lot of different things. Yeah.
Sex. And the exploration between the one couple who were like, you know, the man constantly cheats on her, but she's in love with him, and she's like, look, I do my thing, he do his thing, we stay happy at the end. Like it's a vicious, like it's a vicious way to love somebody, but it works for them. And even in the end, they were still together.
And you know, I think so many, and that's one of the other things that I loved about White Lotus is that so many, and to go back to the first season, funny enough, I like the first season more, not because I like the characters more. I think the characters were better, but they were better because they all, like, I hated everyone thoroughly. Like, there was not a single non-deplorable character in that show. And it kind of reminded me of Shameless in a little bit, but I watched Shameless a little bit more recently. And I understand why you're like, it's not that much of Shameless, but I still get those vibes of like, yo, there are no good people here. Like, all of you people are deplorable in some way, shape, and form, including like the young Black-ish girl who was over here like, I can help you. It's like, no, you're no different than the white girls that you came with, because you're still eating off the, you know, off these people and whatnot. And like, but then dude made a good point. He was like, well, are you going to give up your seat for somebody else? Are you going to give up your ride on the plane back to your comfy home for them? Like, fuck out of here. So it's like, I think the idea of White Lotus that I love so much is that it is a lesson for every character. Like, every character is a lesson, especially in season 2, where, you know, hopefully I don't sound like an incel, but you don't really get to see and you know, you laugh because you know what Kara I'm about to talk about is I can't remember her name, but it was like the young white girl who was all wrapped up in like the bad boy Australian, and then found out that she was in a plot to, you know, I don't know if this is a spoiler cast, so I won't say exactly, but like found out that she was just,
it's a spoiler cast.
Oh, okay, yeah. So you're over here goosing after this young Australian boy because he's dangerous and pretty-eyed over the honestly good-looking, sensible white guy who was just trying to treat you like a queen. Boy, and then look where you at.
Hold on. Let me
talk about it.
Let me rant right quick, because that
pissed me off so much, yo.
Yes, sir.
Because listen, it just shows how much like, Shawty, you could have been happy. This nigga would have treated you right. He would have did everything for you. He was a good nigga, but you had to go with the nigga with the accent and the tattoos and the pretty eyes, man. Hey, I can't blame him. I can't blame him.
No, dude was
Niggas
hot.
do it
Dude
all
was
the
hot.
time.
And
Niggas do it all the time.
I'm
Niggas
a
do it
play
all
for
the
me.
time.
I'll speak on a man. Yeah, I'm not gonna speak for you, but I'll be like, hey, nigga was looking good. He had the 6-pack, had the eyes, had the tall cut. I know if a nigga looks good, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get like that nigga.
Jesus Christ, Paul. Jesus Christ, Mary. No. Matter of fact,
but no,
he
was a dangerous looking dude.
Break it with your knees. Jesus Christ.
He was a dangerous looking dude, like you said. I won't let you finish your rant.
But yeah, bro, that don't blew me because Shawty, this dude was like, he liked you. Like, I really hate it. I really hate the reality of situations like that because that is so true. Like, you ain't gonna go for the good guy. You're gonna go for the bad boy, you know? Like, oh my God.
Every time. B-Mac, have you seen White Lotus?
No. Do y'all think?
But yeah, that's and that was honestly one of my favorite stories. I just love because that was the lesson that I think you don't really get to see in cinema anymore. And I get why, because in the 80s it was overdone. In the 80s it was always like, this is what you get for being a whore. And like, of course, in today's culture, we're not going to get that much. So I really give it to the creator for even spicing that in there to say like, yeah, this is kind of what everyone gets. Like, that's what he, at the same time, not to just get on her, but that's what homeboy gets for being too much of a nice guy as well. Like, she was right. You're not even standing up for yourself. You're trying to be too accommodating. You're trying to be way too nice because you're so wrapped up in trying not to be like your dad, which is a really stupid way to go about life. You're just like, oh, my dad cheated on my mom, so I'm gonna be extra nice to women. It's like, nah, bro.
But even that is poetic though. Even that's poetic though, because you trying not to be your dad made you be your dad. And then that cycle just continues.
Yeah.
Like, you trying to avoid being like him, and that traumatizes you into being just like him.
Yep.
Like, even in Black families, you know, you basically had your father never been in your life, so you don't really know how to treat women. So you go through life treating women the same way your father did, trying to avoid being like him, but you become just like him. It's poetic.
Yeah.
But, yeah, man. All right. So if you had to rank these on the Fire Squad flame meter, on how many flames out of 100 would you give each season?
Season 1. It's hard for me to even rank this because White Lotus is a show that if you're going in blind, it's a show that you have to watch in its entirety.
The Fire Squad ranking is based on solely how you feel when I ask you, what do you rank? It's what you feel the number is.
Okay, off of just feeling alone, off of just enjoyment, my heart is ablaze. I would say season 1 is like a 73 flames out of 100, right? And season 2 is like a 80 something. Like, I would give season 2 a solid 80.
Okay.
And the reason why they're not higher.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, no, you finish your dissertation. I'll give my grade later.
The only reason why I want to rank them higher because it was a show that I thoroughly enjoyed, but the only reason why I don't rank them higher, like, I would say like my 90% is like, you should watch this, but only if you have the time to finish the whole thing, because it is not a show that's it's gonna grip you, but it becomes a masterpiece once you finish it.
Mm-hmm. So my meter, I look at these neck and neck. So I would have to give both of these. Season 1, 87 flames out of 100. Season 2, 85 flames out of 100.
Wow, but I thought you was banging with season 2 more.
Yeah, I was, but season 1 was still the more compelling story. And season 2 was more, I had to watch acres and acres of fucking breakdown, ending videos explaining the show and how deep it is. But
Yeah.
that's why I went with season 1. And
Fair
season
enough.
1 off rip was just lit.
I will admit, like, I do agree with you. Like, season 1 was very in your face with the story, and you didn't have to like think about too much. It had just the right amount of complexity that, you know, I don't think I don't think a kid would get it, but not every adult is going to get it. Season 2 definitely
Like,
was like, this is a hipster season.
Even, yes, for example,
Yeah.
I was just about to bring that up. Even for the fact that I told you in the precast, like, they have Easter eggs and shit. Even with the Godfather scene, and she was wearing the same dress that the scene where Shorty got blown up in the Godfather. I don't know how many people would know that unless you've seen the Godfather, but I didn't know that until I watched a review video or a breakdown video. I was like, oh, that's deep. I didn't know that. And
I didn't know that until you told me.
And how important the title card and the intro sequence is to depict what's going to happen in the show, like with all the wallpapers and shit. And even in the season 1, they did that too, and I didn't know that till I watched a review video. So, you know,
yeah, definitely very well done, very well executed show. I recommend it to people who have time to kill. That is my recommendation.
Yes, shouts to the birds. And my favorite bird is a falcon.
FSOD, burn up.
FSOD. FSOD.